Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Combat Champ Presents After Turn 6, a Marvel Snap podcast. I'm Sean Hill, and I'm here with Adam Philipchuk. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Sean, how's it going, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. On today's episode, everyone, we're going to be covering the new patch notes that just came out this morning. We're going to be talking about the meta since Zabu. We're going to be talking about what it feels to grind ranks. We're also going to be going over our decks of the week and a few underrated cards that we like. And we'll finish by talking about the bundles. So to get started, Adam, patch notes. I got the chance to look at them real quick, and sorry if my voice is a little raspy. I've got that nice little cold that's going around. But you're looking at the balance updates, they did a few other changes like sound and a few different things, but the card updates is really the meat of the patch.
Yeah.
And I was seeing some cards, some big hits like Arrow, Galactus, Leader. One of the more subtle ones is Nova. We're going to go over the individual things, but did you have the chance to look at those? Do you have an initial feedback on how you feel about the changes?
I think it's all moves in the right direction. I can't say that since the patch has been released that I've had a chance to interact with all those cards yet, but no, it looks to me like to at least some extent, Second Dinner is trying to pay attention to what the people are saying and trying to react accordingly. So,
yeah, I agree. I mean, they'll always be second breakfast to me. But you look at a card like Arrow going down from a 5 cost 8 to a 5/7, and I like the developer comment. I think that they're very insightful, and they really see. They're very eloquent about why they're making the change, kind of in the same way that James White is for Flesh and Blood. There's a lot of whenever they make a change, it's not just like, oh, we made this change, that's cause, right? And Arrow was more of a control card, but being at 8 made it a little too powerful for tempo.
mm-hmm.
I think she'll still going to see a lot of play at 7. I'm not really worried about that. A new card that I personally despise playing against because I find it so damn powerful is Galactus.
Yeah.
Galactus ramp is a thing. It's very, very strong. Electro into Galactus on turn 5, and then into some form of potato on turn 6. Galactus is going down from a 6/3 to a 6/2. Which is yeah.
When I was gonna say, I think what's interesting about that is in the release or in the patch update, they go, we recognize that this is a problem. We still think it might be a problem after the fact, and we're gonna keep an eye on it. Even at 6/2, Galactus is probably going to be too strong, is what they're saying.
Yeah, absolutely, and because you could just go, Galactus into. It doesn't really matter. It's 14 power out of the board, and especially right now, unless you are also playing something like Galactus, and you kind of preempt the turn by going potato, you pretty much automatically lose, or you'll get a surrender on Galactus. Snap Galactus and then surrender. The next card that got hit is Leader.
Mm-hmm.
So a Leader, one of the most frustrating cards to play against, especially when you're playing a big potato on turn 6 and trying to steal the game. Luckily for me, with my deck of the week, the cards that I play on turn 6 or the card that I play on turn 6 doesn't really matter for my opponent. So oftentimes when they go Leader and then they reveal that card, they're like, oh no, and then I get 8 cubes. Leader going from a 6/4 to a 6/3, which is good. A subtle nerf to Nova. Well, not so subtle, but Nova going from a 1/2 to a 1/1. I think that's pretty irrelevant, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I get at the end of the day, the fact that 9 times out of 10 Nova's getting blown up anyway, it's probably not as impactful of a difference as they think it's going to be. But I guess for those games where you don't find your sack outlet or something like that, having that extra bump in 1 of power it's probably what they're thinking about, is just in those games where it does stay on the board, is that extra point of power too much?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, it's kind of it doesn't really need to be a 1/2. And in the case that whenever it is a 1/2, it might be a little too powerful. So I agree with that change. But now those are the only nerfs. But what we're seeing now is a few buffs. And I love me some buffs because it can make some irrelevant cards more relevant. There's one card that I really, really like in this. So the first one is Drax, which I believe used to be a 1/4. Sorry, a 4/4. Now it's going to be a 4/5, and instead of having the +4 on reveal, it's a +3 now. So they're making it stronger and making the reveal kind of like the sweet little kicker there. And they're making the same change to Groot. What do you think about that? I think that's a really cool change.
You know what? Actually, I do like that change. My big, like, the reason I stopped playing, Drax, I haven't really played in the first place. You told me to stay away from Drax, and I was just like, all right, staying away from Drax. I have, though, Drax, now that I've been starting to play Zabu, Drax has stuck out to me a couple times as like, should I be maybe trying this? Like, yes, as a 4-drop, Drax doesn't feel great, but as a 2-drop, Drax seems a lot more reasonable. And now, like, the reason I don't like Groot, Drax, and Rocket Raccoon is just like, you have to read the play right, and if you don't read the play correctly, you get no bonus. So I like that at least the studio's kind of going, you know what? Maybe we'll make it a little more playable, as like if you don't get the play right, you still get a little more oomph out of it than you did before. Yeah. Like, make it a little more playable, but still give that payoff for like, okay, if you did read the play right, yes, you're going to punish your opponent.
And I was going to say, why read any plays when you just play Spider-Man, Absorbing Man, and then you force them to play where Drax is going to be?
That's a good point too. Yeah, if you can get in a Zabu shell, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like, Drax becomes your turn 6 play. Like, turn 5, shut down the lanes. Whether that be, I don't have Absorbing Man, so I've had to get creative to double Spider-Man people. But
Moon Girl.
Well, yeah, Moon Girl. We'll get into that when we talk about my deck of the week.
Deck. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Now, the other 3 changes are Hazmat is going from a 2/1 to a 2/2. I really like Hazmat. We're going to get into it with my card of the week, but I really like Hazmat. I think she's really playable, and I think that her as a 2/2, especially in like a Brood environment, I think she's going to be seeing a lot more play and maybe keep that Brood in check. Another card, I'll keep my favorite for last. Nakia is going from a 3/1 to a 3/2. I think that's going to make her a lot more relevant. Like, she is so good.
Yeah, that buff she gives is incredible, but it's just like, as a 3/1, it's like, I don't want to clog up my board with this. But as a 3/2 now, it's like, okay, I could consider, I can still leverage some power against my opponent with her while giving the buff that I want to give.
Yeah, I think she'd be very, very interesting as like as a 2/1. I think she'd be like really, really, really strong, but I don't think they're ever going to do that. It's too good.
Might be too much, yeah.
Yeah, it's too much power for the cost. But we're going to see a lot more Black Panther being played because of her, I would assume. And the last card, which is my absolute favorite, is Black Cat. Black Cat going from a 3/6 to a 3/7. I was playing Black Cat in like a weird discard shell with Zabu and like a bunch of random stuff, like being able to go Black Cat discards herself, and then for 2 Ghost Rider, even though like you can get something more valuable out of Ghost Rider, she's really cool in like a tempo aggro deck. And especially she's good at thinning out the deck if you're going to be, or thinning out your hand if you're playing a strong guy and a bunch of stuff. So I'm definitely going to be giving the new Black Cat a shot, because at a 3/7, she's very valuable.
Yeah. And even like as a 3/7, like if you can get her back off Hela or something like that, that feels really good too.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's a free 3, it's a free 7 power. Like no one scoffs at that. But 6 felt a little underwhelming for her, so I'm really glad that they're going to bump her up a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And so with all these changes, whenever we see changes like that, it brings us to like, why are they making these changes? And I think a part of that is the meta since Zabu, which is going to be our turn 2 topic. What's been your experience over the last week playing into this Zabu meta? What have you liked? What have you not liked? What's your like your quick summary of that?
Well, my first observation is I actually feel like Zabu is quite underplayed right now. I expected to see him in every single game I played, and like half the time people are playing archetypes that don't even include Zabu.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah.
So, but like, on that point, I guess right off the top, like the bat, I'm noticing like Zabu doesn't feel as pushed as I thought he was going to. His ability is very good, and I've been playing Zabu religiously since he dropped, but it doesn't feel actually overpowered. It feels just appropriately powered. Like it turns your 4-drops into a win condition when before your 4-drop was like it's something you want to play in your resource curve, and you want to get that 4-drop on turn 4 to leverage against your opponent, but you're still relying on 5 and 6 drops in a classic deck to seal the game for you. And at this point now, like cards like Darkhawk become the win condition with Zabu. So that's, I think, yeah, Zabu's been a fine addition, and he's been a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same spot. I've been playing the crap out of Zabu since he landed. I find, there's a deck that I play with him that I personally really like, and we're going to go over it in the deck of the week. But I think what you said is right. I expected to see him like in every single game that I was playing, and instead, and it might be a ranking thing. Like maybe we're just not like at infinity or whatever, and we're not seeing that same meta, because I think the meta changes between the ranks. But in the spot where we're at now, I'm actually seeing a lot of Ultron Patriot.
Interesting.
Like I find that I've been playing against Ultron Patriot like day in, day out. There was a lot of Leech Control that I played against earlier. But right now I find like all I'm playing against is Patriots. Like Ultron Patriot or just I played against a bunch of Cerebro, which I really like the deck. I tried it, not my jam, but I really like playing against it. I think it's super cool. But yeah, Ultron Patriot seems to be like Ultron and Patriot into Mystique into Ultron is pretty much a free win anywhere.
Yeah.
Like every time I play against that deck, I'm like, damn it! Like I really wish I could beat it, but it's just so good.
Yeah, its ceiling is so high. An interesting thing, actually, on the topic of like what we're seeing in the meta right now, I've actually got the Snap fan meta stats right in front of me right now, and so. To first answer our question, like how much we're seeing Zabu, they're calling anything under Zabu as generic Zabu, and we're seeing it. It's the second most played deck right now at 6.33%. What do you think the number one is?
Number one is probably Destroy, because it's so achievable. It's so easy to get the cards for. No,
the number one played deck right now is Sarah Surfer.
Ooh, Sarah Surfer's really good.
Yeah, at 10.11%. And I know Marvel Snap Zone I think last I checked had Sarah Surfer down as the number one deck in their power rankings. Let's see right now. Yeah, it's still up there at the top, Circle Surfer.
And Sarah Surfer is so which build? We're talking about like a Brood, Maximus, Sarah.
Yes, so
all those guys.
Actually, the cool thing about Snap Fan, it breaks down actually a little further and gives you the cards that are like absolute must for the decks, and then it gives you like the percentages on the interchangeable cards and how played they are. So of course, Sarah Surfer, you have like the two musts are Sarah and Silver Surfer. You can't play the deck without them. Next most popular is Brood at 94.11%. And
of course, yeah, Brood.
Brood is nuts. I think Brood is a required for that deck as well. I've tried to play variations of Surfer without Brood, and it just like that multiplicative. The multiplier, yeah, that one. The multiplier on Brood, it's 1/3 drop that gives you 3 spots on the board that all get pumped off Silver Surfer. Like
it's 15 power.
That's 15 power. That's nutty
it's
value.
Silly. Yeah, it's silly. It's a silly thing, and I'll talk about my deck this week, but like it's got to the point where I'm like, why don't I just bring? It's a 2-card combo that instantly wins games.
Yeah, and I don't have Brood yet. I've got Brood pinned in my shop right now. I think I'm 500 tokens away from getting him, or them. What do we think Brood identifies as male, female, non-binary?
I don't know, man. I don't get into that, but I would say it's they them.
They them. That's fair.
I'm gonna put money down. I go with Brood is allowed to identify however Brood wants. But if I was going to be like possibly, I'd be like probably they them. Yeah.
I support that. But yeah, so I don't think the deck's playable without Brood either, personally. But then some of the other cards that are very popular in that deck, Maximus, insane value there. Killmonger, Cosmo, Polaris, Mr. Fantastic, Storm, and what are the other 3 jobs? Rogue's another good one. Juggernaut's seeing a bit of play in that list.
Yeah, no, I mean, Rogue is one of those cards. Like every time I see someone play Rogue, and like I'm playing Zabu and they Rogue my Zabu, I'm like,
Oh,
well,
I
this is
know.
why I should be playing Silver Surfer.
Yeah,
This is why I should be playing
100%.
that deck.
But Zabu, yeah, the second most seen deck, and once again, Zabu is the only required in that deck, and then it's like pick your flavor. Do you want to go control? Do you want to go combo? Do you want to go like whatever you want to do? You can do with that deck. There are so many good 4-drops in this game right now.
Absolutely, like there are some that need a bit more work to get working. Like for example, your deck that you've been playing needs a little bit more like kicker for it to really work the way you want it to.
There's a couple cards I'd like to have for it that we will get into it, that I think will make the deck really shine.
Yeah, 100%. I'm the same way. Like I'm missing a couple cards for the deck I've been playing, where I'm like, if I had like that one card, everything would fall into place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, and that goes into another topic about card acquisition in this game, and I know a lot of people have I know I've been seeing since a lot of people have strong opinions on Twitter and things like that, but that could be an entire episode on its own, like talking about card acquisition, so we don't need to get into that right now. I'll quickly finish.
Yeah, go for it. Sorry,
I was going to finish. This is actually interesting while we're here. A little more looking at the power rankings. Number 3 is called Big Hand. And this is your combination of Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur, cards that add cards to your hand. Just have that really big Devil Dinosaur to win the game. Number 4 is Leech Leader. I know you brought up Leech Leader there, Shawn. And that one's seeing play at 5.27% right now, which I've been blown out by Leech a few times. Like, your opponent, you're kind of neck and neck with your opponent. Turn 5, they drop Leech, and you're just like, I lose now. That's it. I lost my win con. Yeah, there's nothing I can do. Yeah, if they leader me after this, I lose. But I did see leaders actually going down in play, which to touch on that nerf. I know some people think that I don't have enough of an opinion on leader as a 6-4 or a 6-3. I don't find the leaders what I lose to. It's the copy of whatever I've played.
Yeah.
So. Interesting, like, does Leech Leader get played a lot less now as Leader being a 6-3? I don't know. I feel like it's going to be tough to say. The last one, number 5, to talk, you said Ultron Patriot. They're classifying that just as anything that falls under Kazoo. Your combination of Kazar, Blue Marvel, Patriot, Mystique, and that one, there's so many different ways to build as well. Like the popular cards are Kazar, Squirrel Girl, Blue Marvel, Ant-Man, Sunspot, Nightcrawler, like all your value 1-drops into, if you can, Patriot turn 3, followed up by Mystique, followed up by Blue Marvel, followed up by Ultron. Yeah, you auto win at that point.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's cool and about, we were talking about Leader really quickly, and he seemed, he's such an ubiquitous card with the way the game is right now. But we used to lose to like someone going Leader, and then we would play like a 20 or like a 12, and then, oh no, crap, they have 15 power for equal value or something like that. Leader is less effective when you're playing in a meta where like decks revolve around these like very extended turn 6 plays that actually buff your entire field instead of just buffing what you have now. So like playing Leader and your opponent going like Silver Surfer twice does nothing.
Yeah.
It does nothing. So I think like Leader was stronger when the game started and people were trying to get like that 12 power on the end, and then Leader would be like, well, I have 15, good job, good job. But the more we see decks that are like trying to synergize, the less we're going to see the Leader be relevant. So that's kind of cool. I think that fixes itself in a weird way.
Have you had it yet where you play it, both you and your opponent play Leader at the same time?
I have not. Maybe once or twice, maybe, but like not in recent history. I've been off Leader for a while.
I've been off Leader since Zabu dropped, but it's funny, like there's been a couple times now where I play Leader, my opponent plays Leader, and it's just like the board is full of Leaders now. Because like I think what is something stupid, like your Leader copies their Leader, copies your Leader, copying their. It gets nutty. It's quite funny.
Yeah. It's always fun when you see like cards that just bounce off each other and just ping, and then the board gets flooded. There's another way to do that, and I can't remember how, but it's like when you have a Wong and a Wong white tiger, and then you Odin that Wong that white tiger. And
Yeah.
just the field covered in tigers.
Yeah, because
That's always
your Odin triggers twice, triggering White Tiger, I think a total of 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah, and then they do it on the temple where it also copies all reveal
Yeah.
abilities.
So then
you
yeah,
get
the
8
multipliers
triggers.
times 2 again. Oh, that's gross. I don't have
That's a
Wong
lot.
yet. Gah.
I actually got lucky. He was in my shop and I grabbed him.
That was for
I really,
1,000.
really needed him. Yeah, for 1,000.
That's
really
good
needed him.
for Wong. Yeah, Wong. I think Wong's one of those ones that I think he's like he's a staple. Like he needs to be accessible, and
He's an enabler. He's one of those cards that will make a deck. It'll make or break a deck. Like I'll go into what I've been playing and like how many like surprise wins I've been getting because of Wong actually. And we'll just go into turn 3 and just talk about grinding ranks because we're already talking about those decks. We're already talking about like what we're trying to do. I think you got like ahead of all of us in ranks. What are you ranked now?
right as of this moment, I'm at 62. I think 65 is the highest I've gotten this season so far. I really want to hit infinite just for that title. Really, really dirty. I don't know why. I think it's funny.
I think you beat. No, I got to 65 as well. Right now I'm 64. And like I was really in the dumps. We were talking a couple nights ago and I was like at 48. I was like, screw this game. I don't even want to play it anymore. And then I found a deck that I like. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna play a little bit more of this. I've been playing this silly deck that we'll go over on turn 4 here. But yeah, we're grinding ranks. Like I'm someone who grinded a lot of Hearthstone and trying to get to legendary. And it was really hard, and I almost made it once, and then I realized it's an issue of time. Like eventually, if you have like enough time and you're not making careless mistakes with your plays and you're snapping at the right time, because you're the one who first told me like I have to work on my snap game. And by that I mean like I have to work on when I snap, when I choose not to snap, and when I retreat. Like I'm way too easy to go, I've got this, and then just snap to 8, and then I get blown out by like 1.
Yeah,
I'm
and
like, yeah.
to that point, like I've noticed in my short time playing this game so far, I've noticed like I've started thinking of snapping like betting in poker. It's what is like based off the hand I have and the information that's been made available to me, how much am I willing to put on the line? And being aware that like as the game progresses, there's going to be points where my opponent is also going to be thinking the same thing. And I want, if I think I've got the win, I want to snap before they think they're going to lose, because that alone is an extra cube out of them. So like I've been playing, and when I get on my deck the week, like what part of it is Spider-Man's a big component. I've been using Spider-Man to lock down locations and lock down wins. One thing I've clued into in doing that is I have to snap before I play Spider-Man. Otherwise I lose that extra cube.
On turn 4, on turn 3, and then you're like, I have Spider-Man, I've got this, snap.
Yeah. Well, and I've been using with Zabu, I've been using Spider-Man a lot on turn 5. And so
of course.
So it's you either Spider-Man or double Spider-Man, and I have to make sure I snap before I do that. Otherwise, like the moment your opponent sees Spider-Man, they're gone. And you've lost that opportunity to get those extra cubes out of them. So that's when, now I know I'm still struggling with snapping appropriately too. My big thing is there's times where I snap where I shouldn't. I'm like, oh, I want to try to leverage this against my opponent, and I didn't have enough information, and I gave up the win. But yeah, that's the first thing that I have noticed. It is, if you want to grind, you have to learn how and when to snap effectively, because yeah, like, and even some of that, like you're not going to just get cubes out of, sorry, let me rephrase that. If you could learn to do that, then it's not just gaining cubes out of wins anymore. You can actually gain cubes out of your opponent conceding, because you can force them into positions where they're like, no, I'm out of here, but they've already committed that extra cube or those extra 2 cubes. So I think learning to snap effectively is a huge part to grinding and making it to infinite on this game.
I agree. I think that's something I personally have to work on, because the deck that I'm playing is really solid, but I'm finding that like there's certain positions that I'm in where I'm like, I've totally got this, and then like I take it like an 8-point setback on a small miscalculation, where like I would have been better off retreating, losing 2 cubes, and then trying to make back that 2 cube on the next one. Because any 8 losses is like 30 minutes worth of gameplay that's just gone out the window.
Yeah. Like if you look at if you look at an 8-cube win versus a 2-cube win, like what it takes you 4 games to achieve the same net and cubes.
Yeah.
So
8-cube wins feel so good.
Oh, they do. 8-cube losses feel so bad though.
Yep. I close the app after an 8-cube loss. I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm done for now. And then I'll come back like 10 minutes later and get a couple games in, and then I'll lose like 4 cubes and be like, nope, this game sucks. I'm out. And then I'll come back again. Yeah, because I'm real consistent with that. But talking about grinding, talking about the decks we've been playing, I want to talk about our decks of the week. And I know like you said Darkhawk a few times.
Before we actually get to that, the other thing I think is really important with grinding ranks is being able to read the meta too.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because one thing I've noted, like I've done the grind from the bottom to I guess I've made diamond once now, platinum twice, and both those times I've noticed that like in your iron, bronze, silver, you can play whatever. Once you hit gold, disruption becomes a lot more present. Regardless of what you're going to see, like power rankings wise, you can rest assured that you're going to see a lot more disruption, and so then you need to find ways to adapt to that, whether that's playstyle or card selection. It's just to be aware that like a strategy that works in one rank might not work in another one, and being open to changing to manipulating your play style and your deck in order to overcome that. When I noticed more disruption, a deck that, like to your point, destroy became a lot more sort of like playable, because it you can, like, if you need to, if you're on a deck that develops, a kazoo deck, and your opponent loses to that, they start playing Killmonger. If you're on I'm struggling to think of examples now, Shawn, but I know you know how to read the meta better than I do.
Killmonger is great, and I find the Destroy, like when I started seeing a lot of Ultron decks going around, what I would do is I would play Killmonger, and then like I would snap to 8 on the turn where they had all that Patriot stuff set up, and if they were playing first, I'd snap at 8, play Killmonger, and get a free win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, and that's a perfect example of playing to your meta and snapping effectively at the same time.
Yeah, if you find like there's a certain thing that happens in Marvel Snap where like people play their deck and play their plan, and the second they have their plan, they feel like they can't lose. And then as long as you're able to counter their plan, you can get free wins. And that's why my all-time favorite card in Snap is Cosmo. I think it's like it is the like Jace the Mind Sculptor of Marvel Snap. It is the Icelander of Marvel Snap. That card is awesome. It's the Channel Lake Frigid of Marvel Snap, I should say. Like when you're able to go Cosmo and deny, like I was on one turn, on a turn 6, okay? There was one location left active that could support a full Brood. I know he was on Surfer. I knew he had Brood in hand. So I was like, he's going to play Brood here, and then he's going to play Surfer there. Well, what I did was I Cosmoed where the Brood was, right? And then I Maximused wherever the Silver Surfer was going to be, because it's a 0 power. It was only going to give +6, and we were matched. So I went Cosmo, negated the Brood. Brood is just a 2, right? So I went 3 to 2, and then he played Surfer. I went Maximus. Actually, I had something else on the first point. I think like a 3 or whatever, and then I won that game. But that's just because I put a Cosmo on the field. Like, it didn't really matter. I just put a random Cosmo, and I got a free win. So those cards, like, yeah, Cosmo, Leech, Enchantress is not seeing as much play as I thought she would.
No, but I think if Zabu play goes up, Enchantress comes up as well, right?
She's so good.
She is. And it's funny, actually. I've been seeing people Zabu, Enchantress, their own Zabu, just for the little bit of value. Like on turn 4, you get out of being able to play 2 4-drops at once. Sometimes that's enough value to get you ahead. And that's what some people are doing. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to play Zabu, bait you into playing your Zabu, and then Enchantress it.
Yeah, and there's also the play where you can like force people into like especially against like the Kazu deck, like Enchantress. It doesn't matter if you hit your own Zabu. If you're able to play Enchantress and hit their Blue Marvel, like you're stripping like 10 power from
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, disruption comes a lot more in play in those higher ranks, and I find that like right now I'm at 65, 64. I'm trying to get to 70, and that's my issue is that I've been playing it like a really straightforward plan deck, and I need to find something that's a little bit more flexible. And so going into the decks of the week, if you don't mind, I'll take the lead
Yeah.
on this. But I've been playing a deck that I call Spectrum Zabu. Which is essentially the ongoing shell, Spectrum ongoing, with Zabu and with a few little spicy cards. I do play. Originally, I didn't play it. It was Ant-Man and Ant-Man, Quinjet, and a few other cards. And then eventually, I went, wait a sec. I can go Moon Girl, Quinjet. I can go Brood, Silver Surfer. I was playing Mr. I don't have the deck in front of me, sadly, but I was playing Mr. Fantastic, or whatever his name is. Mr. Fantastic. I was playing a few of the cards, the Warpath, the 4 for 5 that whenever he tentacles places for Omega Red,
Yeah.
and then I was playing Spectrum and Wong. So the deck would get a lot of free wins because what would happen is you'd have like a really not that dominating board presence, right? You'd have like Mojo and Quinjet and then Zabu, and your opponent would be like, ah, whatever. And then you'd play Wong, which is just a 2, right? No one cares about Wong. So you go like Wong into Warpath or Wong into something else. And I would most of the time I get my opponent to snap right there because he's like, this guy's got nothing, right? And then you'd play either Brood and Silver Surfer where the Wong was, or you'd play just Spectrum and then give +4 to everything on the board, right? And oftentimes that would trigger the Scarlet, the whatever his name was, Omega Red, and you just dominate the board in one shot. So a lot of these decks that have surprise wins, and in the beginning when Zabu was first released, Leech Leader was a big thing, and obviously, if you get Leech when you have your Spectrum in hand, you're just out of the water, and then you just get out. But oftentimes they wouldn't Leech, or they'd play like Arrow instead, because the deck also plays Arrow. They'd play Arrow, and then I'd go, Spectrum, right, and just blow them out of the water. So that's the deck I've been playing. It's like ongoing, but with Brood, with Silver Surfer, with a couple 3 ongoing, Zabu, Mr. Fantastic, and yeah, Spectrum for the finish. Or last turn I'd hold on to Silver Surfer and Brood, or I'd place Moon Girl, get another Silver Surfer and another Brood, and then like flood the board. So that's what I've been playing. It's been doing great. It's starting to struggle in the mid 60s right now, though. I'm finding that it's petering down a little bit.
Do you think it's the ceiling isn't high enough, or do you think you're just missing the wrong tech cards, or like do you think this deck can be tuned to keep achieving what you want to achieve with it, or do you think you need to move on to something else?
So I think so. The card that I use to run on it is Typhoid Mary because she has an ongoing effect and she's really good. And we're gonna get into this of the card of the week. I'm gonna spoil my own card of the week. I'm missing Luke Cage. And I think I need him to make the deck really work, because the deck is it's very affected by minus on the board and stuff like that. And I find that I just need that to make Typhoid Mary work and all that. It's a really cool deck. It's not like the best deck ever, but it's a little rogue. Like it's rogue light. So I do get into some games where people just don't expect it, and they just don't see the Spectrum coming. They don't see anything coming, and then I blow them out because they're like, who would play this? Which is the issue with playing like a Sarah Surfer kind of deck. Everybody knows what the deck is. And I always like playing my own brews. I'm the kind of guy that likes to come up with their own ideas. Like I'm going to a couple pro quests this weekend.
Is it what the Johnny, the Spike, is it Johnny's the one that likes playing his own brews?
Johnny's combo player. So
Johnny's
I'm definitely
player.
a combo. Yeah, I'm definitely a combo player. Like I was the Johnny of my group. I always played these weird combo decks in Magic. I always played weird combo decks in pretty much every game that I've ever played. But in Marvel, I like building my own decks, coming up with my own ideas. And it's probably why I'm stuck in the 60s, because I refuse to play the decks that win. I want to play the decks that I like. And that's why, this ProQuest season for Flesh and Blood, I'm going to Ottawa this weekend to play, and I'm playing my own brew. I'm not playing a deck that's known to win. I'm just going to play what I like. And then if it loses drastically and I can't get a win, I'm going to play what wins. But for the time being, that was my deck of the week. It's a Spectrum Zabu list. I'll post it later. I think you have the image of it. You can post it. in the Discord if you'd like. What were you playing this week?
So I've also been trying to abuse Zabu, and I'm on something I'm calling Zabu Earthquake. This is fundamentally what this deck does is it tries to, off of Zabu, abuse cards like Rock Slide to fill your opponent's deck and then finish off with Darkhawk as a big finisher. If I run you through my list, my current version of this list, and then there's cards I'd like to try that I haven't had a chance to try yet, but I've been tinkering with this left, right, and center all week. I'm currently on Korg, Adam Warlock, Black Widow, Forge, Beast, Zabu, Cosmos, Darkhawk, Jubilee, Spider-Man, Moon Girl, and Rockslide. And when I say I've tinkered with this thing, like I've tried everything from like including 6 drops for win cons to just like this current version that's only that it doesn't play anything higher than a 4 drop. There's what's interesting about this deck is it's like a combo control type deal where you're not necessarily trying to disrupt your opponent. I did have a version of this list that ran things like Iceman and Scorpion instead of, I think, at one point, like Adam Warlock was out, Forge was out. I had Scorpion and Iceman instead. I think at one point Sunspot was in it. And Psylocke's another one that's come in and out in those 2 drop slots. But when it was like more on the controlling side, the thing I realized was it just didn't like the thing the deck at the end of the day wants to do is play the big Darkhawks, and trying to disrupt my opponent too much just doesn't lend to that. Black Widow stays in because Black Widow actually does pump Darkhawk. Every time you play Black Widow, you prevent your opponent from drawing a card. So not only is it disruption, but it's disruption that's a +2 on Darkhawk. So if I talk about the play patterns of this deck quickly, of course, like you're looking to turn 1 Korg if you can. If you don't have a turn 1 play, that's fine. Turn 2, you're generally going to Adam Warlock, Black Widow, or Forge. Adam Warlock's job in this deck is to find you their combo pieces. That's why I'm on him right now. On his own, he's not a great card, but when you can lock down a location and get that extra card or two across the course of a couple turns, you can sometimes find what you're looking for, whether it be Rock Slide, Moon Girl, Darkhawk, or Zabu. Forge is just because I can't decide what I want that slot to be. I really like the Adam Warlock. I think one card you could consider is playing America Sanchez, and the only reason is that America having her, essentially play the algorithm and stop you from drawing anything in between can accelerate your plan by a little bit. So that's something to try. I did try it because I did like that idea of like maybe having a better shot at drawing Zabu turn 3 or something like that. The reason I fell off of America is because sometimes I still needed to find Darkhawk on turn 6, and it's just like I'd rather find Darkhawk than America. Yeah. Like I've got 1 or 2 cards left in my deck, and if it's always going to be America, I don't want it to be America sometimes. Like I like Darkhawk's what wins me the games. That's why I cut America. You could consider Domino for the same reason, right? Like I could try Domino instead of Forge, guarantee that turn 2 draw. I'd rather have a chance at drawing Black Widow turn 2 if I haven't already found Black Widow. But it's something to consider. Like if you want to like get into the nitty gritty of the stats and like what's better, it might actually be better. I don't know. But one of the cool play patterns about this deck as well is, so Moon Girl is with Zabu is an incredible enabler. The fact that everything gets discounted, if you can Moon Girl your Darkhawks and Rock Slides, now you've got twice the value because you can afford to play all those cards. So Moon Girl has been very powerful in this deck to, copy Spider-Man, copy Rock Slide, copy Darkhawk. Like that Moon Girl has been a huge, in my opinion, is almost like on the games where I'm not playing Moon Girl, I'm like having to get very creative to find wins. Like it's going to be Rock Slide at one location with a buff off Forge plus Darkhawk at another location. Do
you play Mystique?
No, I don't have Mystique right now. I have thought of Mystique.
She's like an auto include. Yeah, she's like an auto include in that.
The two cards I'm really curious about for this deck right now are Shuri and Wong. They both fit into the Zabu's plan and like the resource curve, but they have the potential to, you know, trigger rock slide or double rock slide. Like I would be very quick to cut any combination of Jubilee for, like I like Jubilee for the same reason I like Adam Warlock. Sometimes it finds you your Zabu or your Darkhawk or something like that. But I think I'd be inclined to try Wong. I'd be inclined to try, sure. I think Shuri's an auto include if you have her.
Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah, like the doubling power for 2 just makes so much sense. Crystal is, Absorbing Man's another auto include if you have him. Crystal was an interesting one to play around with this deck because it was, there was at one point I was on a version that played Dino, and I had this really cheeky play where I only had one card in hand after my, like I had, I think, one card, Crystal and Moon Girl, and Dino's already on the board. And I realized if I go, if I play Crystal and Moon Girl, play Crystal first, go back up to 3 cards, and then Moon Girl to 6 cards, like it just made Dino so good. But Dino feels weird in the deck. Like, and yeah, I don't, at the end of the day,
5 cost is clunky.
It's very clunky. It came down to like, what would I rather be doing here? And it's at the end of the day, you always in my like what I'm working on this list, Darkhawk is like on the if you don't draw Darkhawk, you can't win. So or
Lucky
if
you though getting Darkhawk at like collector level, what, like 1,004?
Oh no, I've been grinding hard. I'm up to 1620 now.
Oh, very cool, very cool. But still, a good. Congrats on getting Darkhawk. That's like probably one of the like number 1 cards that people are looking for right now out of the new pools.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. I've been in the amount of time I've been playing this game. I've been very lucky with my acquisitions. When I see some of the complaints people have,
raise my hand right here. Hello.
Like I've already got Patriot. I've already got Mr. Negative. I've got Darkhawk. I've got who are other hard ones to find. Name some of the other ones you don't
have. The ones that I don't have Black Widow. I don't have Patriot. I don't have Mr. Negative. I got Wong from the token shop. I've gotten 20 cards in over 1,000 collector levels.
Yeah,
I pretty brutal. I have a lot of portraits though.
Oh, I'm so sick of opening variants. Like I open a collector reserve. I'm just like, please be something I need, and it's a pixel variant. I'm like, yay, woo.
Yeah, it's a pixel abomination. You're like, thanks, buddy. Yeah, I mean, look, that's just the way the game is, and there's a part of us that have to accept that. But I think it's cool. Like, there's also a good side of being like, oh, I got Darkhawk, and it's like, you got Darkhawk? God damn it, that's so cool.
Well, that's
like,
cool.
I wish I had Darkhawk.
And and to that point, like the last 2 points I have on this deck, like if you do have Zabu and you do have Darkhawk, like I strongly encourage playing this deck because one, your opponent does not see it coming ever. Like when you like on turn 5, I could be dropping 2 rock slides and a Korg, and my opponent will still snap. And
and you're like, Darkhawk, thanks, buddy.
Oh yeah, and then it's like I Darkhawk for 30, and they're like, like I've had like, you know how you can like emote react on cards? Like I've seen so many emote reacts on Dark. Nobody's ever emote reacted on any other card I've played, but Darkhawk, there's always an emote react. It's either like an angry one or a surprised one. Like no one sees it coming.
I have one card that people will like emote react to, and it's a weird. I have like the rarest variant of Lizard.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's the one that people, every time I play it, people like big eyes, you know. But yeah, Darkhawk is definitely an emote worthy card. That's rare. That's the rarest of rare.
The last thing I did want to say about this deck is it blows out leader. It absolutely blows out leader because your opponent
they don't have the setup for it.
No, they don't have the setup for it. They're like leader, and you're like, that's hilarious. My Darkhawk's twice as big as yours.
So, very cool.
That's all I've got on. Cool. That's all I've got on Zabu Earthquake.
All good, but I think it's a really cool deck, and like if you're listening to this and you do have Darkhawk, I do think that Adam's onto something. The deck is brutal. If you have the cards for it, it's absolutely brutal, and I think Mystique makes that deck even sillier because the odds are you could actually have 4 Darkhawks on the field. Yeah, sorry, three at the most.
Unless you can Moon Girl double. Can you? Is there a way to double Darkhawk, double Mystique?
You'd have to go Zabu and like...
You have to Moon Girl on turn 4, then you can double Darkhawk turn 5, then you can double Mystique turn 6. No, that wouldn't work
No,
because
you
that
have
wouldn't.
the Dark Hawk Mystique.
Okay, that works. That works. So yeah, it's doable. The best I've done is three rock slides and 2 Dark Hawk. Yeah, because I went turn 4, rock slide into Beast, bounce, rock slide back to my hand, turn 5 Moon Girl, 2 1-cost rock slides, and then turn 6 was Dark Hawk, rock slide.
So the fifth thing we wanted, that's brutal, but the fifth thing we wanted to talk about is underrated cards, and you just mentioned yours in quick passing. What's your favorite card that you think is underrated for Marvel Snap?
Right now it's Beast. I like Zabu and Darkhawk obviously are musts for this Earthquake deck, but Beast has been a huge enabler too. Like when I play Black Widow turn 2 and my opponent thinks that's the only Black Widow they're gonna see, the amount of times I double Black Widow my opponent, it's like that's +4 to Darkhawk. If you can double Korg, that's another +4. Double Forge is great. Rock Slide, like I like to Rock Slide or Spider-Man into Beast on turn 4. But I don't think Beast is just playable in this Zabu Earthquake list. Any of your low cost on reveal cards that you want to double up their effect, like if you're playing a move list and you want to double play Iron Fist, if you want to double play Iceman, Scorpion, who else is another good one? Like double Spider-Man's great, double Squirrel Girl, like all of these, like Beast is a huge enabler to just get value out of cards, and like if Beast didn't discount on the return, like he'd be unplayable. But the fact that he discounts everything that gets bounced back, like if you have a full board, like if you have three item or 3 characters in a slot on a location and you Beast them all back, they all cost 1 less. Like Okoye would be another great one. Scarlet Witch you can play around with. The other cool thing about
valuable on reveal,
Agent 13. The other cool thing about Beast though is it messes with your opponent. Because Beast sees no play right now, no one expects it. So when you start dropping items or characters on a location, your opponent thinks you're committing to that location. And when you can late game pivot and go, psych, you thought I was going to establish all this here. I'm actually going to drop in my case, a Darkhawk in the same, or 2 Dark, or whatever you want to do. Like it keeps you very flexible, and it plays well into things like disruption, because now you're disruption decks that set up like big board states from the early game, anything where your opponent is expecting you to do one thing and they don't have the ability to react when you pivot to something else. Beast is a huge enabler for that. So by far, I think Beast is criminally underplayed right now.
I think that's really cool. And one thing you mentioned about like being able to bounce back Black Widow and playing her again, so many times in so many games, I've had someone play a Black Widow late game, like turn 5 Black Widow. And I never understood how brutal that can be, because in some cases, like they'll know that I haven't committed to something because I've been missing the card or trying to find the card. And then they Black Widow you late game. You're like, well, not only am I not seeing that card, now I have this, whatever card in my hand. But if you've played one early, I had to play that card somewhere. And in a meta where you want to flood your boards and like bump everything, that 0 bite really stops you from establishing a solid board presence on at least one location.
Yeah, and that's like Black Widow's a great example of like a disruption card that like it not only like it doesn't make a card cost more or anything like that, but it disrupts your hand, it disrupts your draw, and it disrupts your ability to play cards on the board. So it's like
it's a spot on the board. It stops you from drawing a card, which is very a serious disadvantage. Like it is so much value for a 2-drop.
Yeah. Oh, Black Widow is an amazing card. That I think Black Widow's underplayed as well. I'll be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And going into my underrated card of the week. So I played. This is a card that's relatively new. I'm not sure which pool it's in. I think it's a pool 5 card. You could probably check that. But
I thought I'll check while you're looking. Or you're talking.
Yeah. My underrated card is Luke Cage. And the reason I find Luke Cage to be underrated is because now, especially now with Hazmat being bumped up, I was trying to make this ongoing deck work. And the one thing that I could never figure out how to make work is Typhoid Mary in relationship to that, because the hit of the ongoing effect was too strong. I was getting to the point where I was playing Enchantress trying to like disable my Mary, but that didn't work. And then I played against a guy who played Luke Cage into Hazmat, and I went, that's the deck. That's the deck. That's the cool card right there. Like it's a 2 cost. It prevents everything from getting reduced. There's a bunch of locations that reduce stuff. It's such an interesting. It's such an interesting card. It's an ongoing card, and I think that the more we see people starting to play decks that affect the board and affect power, I think the more we're going to see the use of Luke Cage. The one thing I'd have to check is if Luke Cage actually counters Scorpion when you play a card afterwards, or if that's
your card. What? So the ongoing is your cards can't have their power reduced. The way I interpret that is it doesn't differentiate between hand or board or anything like that. It doesn't say your cards in play. So in theory, based off that text, it should it should stop Scorpion, correct? So I've got the answer to your question, and Luke Cage is actually a pool 4 card, so a little harder to get. One thing I did stumble upon while I was looking at that, we were talking about my, as I'm calling him, Zabu Earthquake. It actually just went live, or I don't know how, like within the past 24 hours, I think, went live on Marvel Snap Zone in their power rankings. Their first deck for tier 2 is Zabu Darkhawk, which is a variation essentially of what I was describing. The only difference is they've got Bast in there as well, which Bast makes sense. There's also, they like Adam Warlock's in there. They've got Absorbing Man, makes sense. Shang-Chi, which I did try Shang-Chi, and it was... Don't get me wrong, like Shang-Chi, when he's good, he's very good. But he's just, sometimes you reveal first, or sometimes your opponent just isn't playing anything greater than a 9, and it's just like, I'd rather have something else than Shang-Chi. So I figured for like the purpose of the combo of the deck, Shang-Chi is like, if you want to play a control shell, 100%, I'm playing Iceman, Scorpion, Shang-Chi. But in the combo perspective, I think Shang-Chi comes out. Absorbing Man makes sense. The Spider-Man's still in there. They do have Crystal, which I still like Crystal because it can help you find what you need. Moon Girl, of course, and Rock Slide.
Very cool. I think I agree with you on Shang-Chi, and it's kind of a card like Leader, right? So in a meta where people aren't playing those over the top 12 costs, like I don't know if Shang-Chi's as relevant. Same thing as Leader. But that's cool, and I find that happens a lot where like you'll come up with an idea, or I'll come up with an idea for a deck, and then you're like, oh, this is already a thing. You're like, obviously it's already a thing.
Damn it, someone else beat us to it.
It's like for Flesh and Blood. Sorry,
I don't have good ideas in Flesh and Blood. I rely on other people 100% for that one.
But it's like for Flesh and Blood, like I was playing, you know what deck I'm bringing to the ProQuest. I'm not putting it out there for everybody to know, but like I'm bringing a really weird Dorinthia deck to the ProQuests. Which, if you've never played Flesh and Blood, ProQuest is a qualifier to go play in the Pro Tour. I encourage you to look out Flesh and Blood, especially if you're into this. It's a great card game. But in ProQuest, I'm bringing a Dorinthia deck, and like, watch it be like in 2 weeks, like everybody's playing that deck. I'd be like, but I've been thinking about this for so long. But it's like, it's a deck, I guess. And that'll bring us talking about things that people like you and I do all the time, and everybody gets on board with. Which is like literally the worst segue into the next segment that I could probably do. So please don't keep that. So talking about things that other people are getting into, let's talk about the new bundles that are up. As you know, I'm quote unquote free to play, and by that I mean I buy the passes because the pass cards are too good. But I don't spend any money on gold or bundles as a rule of thumb. But like on your end, I know that you're looking at the bundle and going, So I want to get what your impression is of the bundle. Like, you find it as good value?
So I'm still trying to gauge what good value for this game is, right? The bottleneck I've noticed at this point is credits are the bottleneck. Credits seem to be where, like, if you played, you can get all the boosters you want, but no matter how much you play, like, yes, you can, if you have the gold, you can buy missions, complete more missions, but you can't necessarily grind credits. So, and if you want to get new cards, you need to level up your collector level, which means you need to upgrade cards. And I'm finding myself trying to figure out, how do I get more credits? So the fact that the Pro Bundle right away is the ability to purchase, like for not like it's not cheap by any means. Like
you're gonna be like for a reasonable amount. I'm like,
reasonable is not.
$140.
Yeah, so we're up in Canada. It's 140 Canadian. I don't know what it is in the States. Pat's not with us tonight, unfortunately.
99.
Is that what it is? So
it is 99.99.
Yeah, like I mean, it's a lot of money to drop, and I don't find myself starved for boosters at all. And I'm curious, like how does it allocate the boosters? Does it choose what? Does the card get assigned, or the character or whatever get assigned when you buy the pack, or like how does that work? Or is it just generic boosters? You can level up anything. That would be kind of interesting.
Oh, it's gonna be assigned. It's gonna be assigned.
It's got to be assigned. It's got to be.
Yeah.
But 12.5k worth of credits caught my eye right away, because that to me is it's a significant way to boost your CL and influx a whole bunch of cards into your collection. I know that's something we talked about last episode is the big thing, the big want out of this game at this point is we need a better way to acquire cards. The token shop is a move in the right direction. And I wonder if maybe even they need to offer 3 cards at once, like a series 3, 4, and 5 at the same time, maybe. Or I don't know, something to make like you have the ability to see, to access more of what you need. Like I know of people like Chris Ray. If anybody knows who Chris Ray is, he's at CL 3000 and he's still missing key staples that he needs because the game's card acquisition isn't great. So seeing the Pro Bundle, is it cash grabby? 100%. Is it pay to win? 100%. But if you're able to comfortably spend the money and you need to get in, like it feels that it helps you get cards, it's a move in the right direction. The other bundle, the Primal Masterpiece, I don't know how I feel about it. It's a shit ton of boosters, but it's only 1,500 credits for 3,000 gold. And that's a tough swallow. Like the variants are kind of cool, I guess. Like the White Tiger one's cool for sure. I don't like want to go back to my point. I don't feel starved for boosters. If I'm willing to play, I'm able to get the boosters I need. I think I have like 250 boosters for Jubilee right now because I've been grinding this Zabu list a bunch. I bet you Darkhawk's something stupid as well. I'm curious now. What's my Darkhawk? Yeah, and even Darkhawk's at 187 boosters, and I've Infinity split him one. So it's like that part is not hurting. So I don't need to pay 3,000 gold to get 155, 310, 415 boosters. I don't need that. I think the Pro.
Did you do the math on value? Like, is it a better deal than buying just gold and use it on your existing boosters?
Well, first off, like, yeah, okay. So if we look at so 3,000 gold for 1,500 credits, you can also. Well, first off, like if you have the gold, buy missions first. That is first and foremost the best value you can get for your gold, because at 120 gold you get 2 missions. One of them will be hard, so it'll be 150 credits. Plus, you get the experience on the seasons pass. Technically, if you look at the credit store, you can buy 150 credits for 120 gold. On the credit side, it's the same value as buying 2 missions, but it's 30 credits more, and you're not getting my apologies, my math is wrong.
It's the exact same value.
It's the same value credits, but you don't get the seasons pass experience. So like, if you're trying to decide like which one where you should put your gold, it's missions first. Credits, like if you have an abundance of gold, if you have an abundance of money, I'm not trying to endorse spending money on this game. Like it's purely if you're trying to accelerate your progress. Credits would be the second place, because at 400 gold for 500 credits for a 12 for 50. Yeah, so it's 1,200 gold, 1.2k for 1,500 credits. So if we're looking at 3,000 gold for the same amount of credits, it's like, from a credit perspective, it does not make sense. You have to want the variants or something like that. That's the only way to. I don't actually see a way to justify Primal Masterpiece. The more we talk about it, the more we break it down. It's just the value is not there.
Yeah, if you're playing a lot, you're better off just buying straight up crystals and boosters. I think the boosters are
You know
going to
what?
actually devalue that pack.
I'm going to do the math on the Pro Bundle quickly now. Give me 2 seconds.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, if we do the math on the Pro Bundle credits wise, the Pro Bundle is actually insane value. To get that amount of credits through gold, not only can you not achieve that in a day, you're maxed at yes, I'm a degenerate. I have a problem. I've bought more gold in the credit store than I care to admit. You can only buy the 500 one 3 times in a 24-hour period. So not only would it take you 8.3 repeating days to collect that much gold. I'm terrible at mental math. You give me a calculator, I can do freaking rocket appliances. Like it's weird.
Rocket appliances?
Oh, you've never heard that before?
No.
I think it's from Trailer Park Boys. I don't actually watch Trailer Park Boys, but I've picked up all these stupid sayings from my job. That's one of them. Rocket appliances. The Pro Bundle. I guess bundle impressions. Now that we've actually done the math, I think we can just purely break it down. Pro Bundle's really good value if you can comfortably afford it. Do not overextend yourself.
Value.
Do not put the money into your mortgage, your bills first. Like that obviously all comes first. But if you're looking to spend money on Marvel Snap, the Pro Bundle is the place to do it. Primal Masterpiece right now is just the value is not there.
I think the variables and variants are extremely overpriced. And like there's this weird saying with mobile games, and this is something that I personally don't. I've never really played a mobile game. I've fiddled with a couple different ones, but there's this weird saying that 5% of the population is paying for 100% of the game, and that like I was really into Genshin Impact for a little while there, and I bought a couple of little things here and there on that game, but there's some people that are just the term whaling.
Yep.
Like there's a few whales, and those guys are spending hundreds upon hundreds of dollars a month, and if not like a week, some people are spending hundreds a day, and those are the people that keep the lights on at the company, right? So it's just an interesting thing to keep in mind. And with all that being said, be careful with where you spend your money. With all that being said, I think we're gonna wrap up today's episode. It's been we've covered quite a lot of things. I think that we're gonna see a lot of changes in the next couple of weeks, especially in the meta with the changes from the patch. And Adam, if you could let the people know where they can find us.
Yeah, 100%. If you've lasted with us this long, thanks for listening. You can find us first and foremost. We are the Combat Chain. We are a TCG content channel. We do Flesh and Blood and Marvel Snap. Those are our games right now. I think we're also our third half, our third. Pat couldn't join us tonight. He's also expanding into Lorcana for us, the Disney TCG. So we're trying to cover a few bases. We love card games, and we're trying to share our knowledge with the games we understand well, the games we're really passionate about. So we are on YouTube at The Combat Chain. You can also find us on Twitter. We have at The Combat Chain and at After Turn 6, 6 spelt like SIX. We are also on Twitter as myself, Fom Tuilery TCG. Sean Hill is at Sean Hill CG. Pat, who couldn't join us tonight, is at Pat Smash Good. I think those are the big ones. Oh, and we are also on all your podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Deezer. The list goes on. There's so many podcast platforms now. Also, if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe. That helps us out a whole bunch. The bell notification, as Pat says. I think that's it for the plugs.
I think that's it for the plugs. Thank you everybody for staying in, and I'm looking forward to seeing if Zabu sticks around. So we'll talk next week and see what the meta's like and see what we can expect from the future. Again, I'm Sean Hill. He's Adam Philipchuk. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks.